Gear up for Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network. It's your final word on sports all across the state. Be a part of tonight's show. Call us at 800-956-7266 or email talkback@sportstalksc.com. Now here are your hosts, Phil Kornbluth, Kevin McCrary, and Tom Hayes.
That was a crazy week, and I feel like since then I've learned a lot about the game of football and the ups and downs and what it truly takes to, try to compete at this level now. And I need to kind of put that into effect.
It doesn't really matter when you win a game. Like you won the game. It doesn't matter how many points you win by. But sometimes, it's better to get a blowout win and just relax a little bit more and not have so much stress late in the game. But
all right, good evening, everybody. Welcome to Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network. Your final word in sports on this Thursday night all across the state of South Carolina. Another good summer day going down behind us. Looking forward to a wonderful summer weekend of football. No baseball. Goodbye, baseball, for another summer. All right, so we got rid of another jinx last night. We buried another jinx for good. So the Cubs now, they can be happy for 6 months until reporting for spring practice in February. But what a great way to close out the baseball season with a dynamic game last night with all the drama and the twists and turns and decisions. And hey, either way, it was going to be a happy ending, for a large section of fans who've been starving for a baseball championship.
That was one of the great game sevens that I think anybody under the age of 35 probably have ever seen. It was the best game seven I've ever seen. And look, the Lakers Celtics, when they went game seven, Lakers won. That was a great moment. But as a fan, because I was pulling for the Lakers, but as somebody just watching that with no rooting interest in either team, just watching the drama unfold, that was great stuff. That was a lot of fun to watch. And Corn, you were on this show last night knocking metrics and sabermetrics. Well, Theo Epstein has gone to Boston and broke the curse of the Bambino with sabermetrics, and he went to Chicago and broke the Billy Goat curse with sabermetrics. Yeah. It works. Yeah. There's something in those numbers that he's crunching. Look at that team that he put together.
Called a home run late in the ball game that won it.
How do you think they know who to hit the home run?
I know he's one of those guys out of the Billy Bean circle and relies on all the. Yeah, listen, Theo Epstein is obviously a genius to do what he's done at two different places that were just, woefully bad for decades. And the thing he did in both places, Boston and Chicago, he didn't build them for 1 year. I mean, he built them for a run. And the Red Sox, they continue to they're up and down. They're really good 1 year. They're last place the next year. So they're due for last place this coming season in 2017. Thank goodness. Because the Yankees are now being built along those same lines as well, in terms of getting good young players into their lineup. But now the Cubs, of course, it's hard to say year after year how injuries take their toll and that sort of thing. But they are built for a nice run of success here. They've been good the last couple of years, and it all came together for them this year. Best record in baseball, and they backed it up. And especially coming back from a 3-1 deficit in the World Series and having to go on the road to win out. Boy, that was a fantastic finish.
Well, the key point is I think those metrics only give you a reason to do what you're going to do with your gut anyway. I don't hear many metrics being done in St. Louis, and that's been the team that really looks like if the player just puts on the uniform, they win. And look at the Giants. I mean, every other year except this year, in the even years, they won. Now, from an offensive standpoint and a little bit of errors here and there, best seventh game I've seen with runs. Best seventh game for pitching had to be the Braves in Minnesota in 91. Boy, that game, nobody wanted to give up. How many bases loaded jams did both teams escape in 91?
Madden. I had the Cubs lost last night. Yeah, he would be
the GOAT,
a bigger GOAT than maybe any World Series.
Bigger GOAT than the GOAT.
When Grady Little left in Pedro, that kind of run out of Boston. Essentially, that ended it for him. Boy, that would have been Bartman-esque. I mean, that would have been all, and keeping Chapman out there the extra inning. It all worked out for him, so no one will think about it. But that was some goofy stuff when he took out Hendricks, who was dealing, to bring in Lester, and it got away from him.
Sometimes you just wonder if managers just overthink it because you're so okay. The book says, my style says, I got to go to my pen now. You know, we've reached this point.
Right.
We got
Sparky
even
Anderson.
though the guy is out
dominating.
there dealing.
Sparky
it doesn't make
Anderson.
any sense sometimes. But
remember what they call Sparky Anderson, Captain Hook?
Yeah,
he's the one with the bullpen. The interesting thing is, it did give a casual fan a lesson in what happens to a pitcher when he's overworked. Chapman's ball lost its movement. That's all it was. The ball was he was still throwing over 100, but that ball was going straight and it was flat, and guys were
he put it down in the wheelhouse too on that home run. I mean, he put it right where John Smoltz is so good.
He's very good.
He is. To listen to him is a study of how to follow baseball. He's telling you pitches in advance, what's coming, where you don't want to put it, where you need to put it, and when they put it where they don't need to be, this is what's going to happen. He called it, man.
And
he said the only way he was going to hit it out was if he threw it down and in. And it was right where he put it, and bow. Now we'll see what the Cubs do with Chapman because he's a free agent.
Yeah.
You know, the Yankees traded him knowing that they could go back out and re-sign him after this year. So we'll see what happens.
He's a turd. He's not a very easy guy to pull for anyway, so I did not mind seeing him.
Well, that's kind of harsh.
Well, the reason the Dodgers had traded for him and nixed it because they found out that he's firing guns at his girlfriend in the garage. So I mean, that's kind of turd-esque, I would say.
Did he hit her?
Can we go? None of the bullets hit her, fortunately.
Well,
so it's okay.
He
throws 102. Bring him on. He didn't actually hit her with a bullet.
There you go. That's why
aim not very good.
See, John Smoltz also, when you hear him, you can tell why that Brave staff was so good. Could you imagine him and Glavine and Maddox just sitting there talking pitching?
Well, look who the pitching coach was.
And Leo Mazzoni.
Yeah, I mean,
the rocking chair man.
All right, well, good. It's over with.
Now he's at Furman.
And of course, I watched the Celtics last night a good bit. I was going back and forth. Great game, great win against Chicago.
Lakers knocked off the
Hawks, we both had a good night last. Two undefeated teams go down, the Hawks and the Bulls.
The interesting thing is my nephew called me, and all I said to him was two words. I said, tell me, Lou Williams. Lou Williams only plays when he plays against the Hawks so he can show off against the hometown fans. What did he have, 16 points in the fourth quarter? And that was
the Dwight Mare had a pretty good night, though. He had 31 points.
Yeah, but then
the Dwight Mare?
Yeah, the Dwight Mare.
But Dwight Mare proves Bill Russell's theory. Bill Russell had a theory is watch what team is playing. Look at the guy who's scoring a bunch of points that shouldn't be, and your team is losing. They don't need him scoring.
The star of the night last night was Amir Johnson. 4 threes in the third quarter in about a 5-minute span. 4 threes by this guy in the third quarter, and they say he can shoot the three, and they let him do it, and the Bulls never covered him, and bang, 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 bang. Okay, now how about some local stuff that we like to feature here on Sports Talk with a big night here on the program coming up for you, including your phone calls after the next break, 800-956-7266. We turn our attention to the weekend ahead. Critical games, USC and Missouri. The Gamecocks trying to build on the foundation. Clemson and Syracuse. Tigers 27-point favorites. Is that too much of a line for them to handle in terms of Las Vegas? The Citadel and Samford, a big Southern Conference game for the Bulldogs as they try to remain undefeated and grab another piece of the Southern Conference championship at the very least with a win against Samford. Newberry trying to continue to do their thing. They're having a great year, of course. They play Limestone on Saturday. We've got a lot of great games to talk about and a lot of interesting issues and angles we're going to throw out at you. We'll have the coach and the quarterback here at the bottom of the hour, Chuck Reedy. Steve Tannehill will join us. Also tonight, we'll hear from USC's Hayden Hurst, unlikely leading receiver on the team, but a guy who is only getting better by the game.
He actually was a blocker, which had been his weakness. He only caught one pass. It was a big one, but he blocked pretty well.
And a phantom holding call.
Was a tough holding call that brought back a touchdown.
Yeah. And Christian Wilkins, Clemson defensive end.
Slash.
Hear from him as well. And USC basketball coach Frank Martin, some good stuff from him today, looking ahead to their exhibition game. Be right back. We are back at Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network, presented by South Carolina soybean farmers and their checkoff. Learn more at scsoybeans.org. Pork, powered by soy. Our phone number is 800-956-7266. Email talkback at sportstalksc.com. And on Twitter, you reach us on Twitter at SportsTalkSC. Coming up tonight as well, Brent Thompson, talk about the Citadel. The Bulldogs head coach is going to join us at 7:30. Talk about his next big game. They're at that stage where every game is critical as they prepare themselves for what they hope is going to be a nice long run in the FCS playoffs. In fact, today, the FCS side of things, they were going to release a ranking of their playoff teams as things stand now. Have we seen that yet, K-Mac?
Yeah, we have, actually.
Can you share it with us?
I don't have the whole list in front of me, but I can tell you that the Citadel was number 5. Oh, I do have the list in front of me now.
Okay.
The Citadel was number 6.
Okay.
And Charleston Southern was number 9. Jacksonville State was number 1. Sam Houston State 2. Eastern Washington 3. North Dakota State 4. Then James Madison, the Citadel, Richmond, Chattanooga, the Bucks, and Central Arkansas is number 10.
And this is being done by the committee?
Yes.
The selection committee, just
This is
like
the first
the committee
of 3
for the
that they'll do.
Gotcha. Just like the committee for the FBS guys in the college football playoff. Okay. Clemson tonight. First game at the new Little John Coliseum. It's an exhibition game against Lander. Taking a look at a picture from inside by Aaron Brenner of the Post and Courier. And, well, the media's still way up high, but that's okay. They've got different colored seats. Some orange, some blue. Looks like
purple, isn't it purple
or purple and blue, whatever. It looks very round. Looks more roundish. Kind of. I have a feeling it's going to have a feel of the pavilion at Georgia Tech. Yeah, that Dan Radakovich had a lot to do with in redesigning. And my guess is, much like that pavilion, you're going to be able to walk all the way around, and perhaps I don't know if you can keep your eye on the game the whole time as you're walking around or not, if it's that kind of open or not, but I do see wide openings in the exit areas. Actually, as I look, it does look like there's a circular way around. Of course, I think they had that before. I think upstairs you could walk all the way around and never have to leave the arena. It looks clean and fresh and new. So they're going to tip it off tonight. Exhibition game against Lander. South Carolina plays Newberry on Sunday afternoon. At 4:30 at the Colonial Life Arena. We'll hear from Frank Martin coming up. All right. Let's see if there's anything else I want to mention before we jump to some phone calls. 800-956-7266. Yes, I did want to mention other games around the state this weekend. South Carolina State plays at North Carolina A&T. Furman and Wofford get together. As Hunter Reed likes to tell us, it's the oldest Deep South college football rivalry. I think Georgia and Auburn's recognized as is that the one recognized as the longest running rivalry? But he likes to call this the longest running rivalry in the Deep South. Of course, I think Georgia and Auburn would qualify as Deep South. I'll have to get with Hunter and have him explain to me the difference. Citadel Sanford, Gardner-Webb at Charleston Southern, Monmouth at Coastal Carolina, Liberty at Presbyterian, Newberry at Limestone, Benedict at Kentucky State, North Greenville against Carson Newman, and that is it. That is the schedule for this Saturday. All right, let's go to Short Run, who joins us up first tonight here on Sports Talk. He was in Charlotte last night. Now he's in Louisiana.
Hey, hello. How y'all doing?
Hey, good to have you back with us. How are you?
I'm just riding with you. I always be with you. Sometimes I don't like to talk a lot. I just like to listen and ride and make some miles. Get paid by the mile, you know. You
I understand. You know, I've always kind of, if I weren't a sportscaster extraordinaire, I often thought I'd like to be a truck driver. I think that'd be a lot of fun.
Could you handle the traffic?
Well, you know, if I weren't in a rush, traffic only bothers me when I'm in a rush, which is about 90% of the time. Yeah. If I got time on my hands and I'm stuck in traffic, I don't worry about it. I sit and wait and and drive 5 miles an hour.
Short run, tell him how tough that is on your back sometimes, though.
It's not hard on my back because more traffic don't mean more women's, you know.
Okay, short run. What else is on your mind? I do know it does. It does get lonely out there at those rest areas, doesn't it?
Down here, and you know, like the great Les Miles say, I'm hoping that they still stands where opponent dreams comes to die. You know.
Right. So you're hoping LSU can take care of Alabama Saturday night.
Yeah, because they're not on Clemson's schedule. There might be a little obstacle. It might be an obstacle down the road, but they're not on the schedule. So anyone think about we got to play them. They all that talk about hoping what Alabama do to them now, but they're not on the schedule. But you know, like I say, I just hoping that the opponent's dreams come to die down here.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, I mean,
that's all I want to talk with you about. I got to get a little backed up down here.
All right. Alabama's not a dream, however. It's a nightmare. And when Alabama comes to town, it's where nightmares tend to thrive for the home team. They bring a nightmare. They don't bring a dream. I don't know, guys. LSU quarterback, I think, this is not his first big game, but he's a young guy. I imagine they're going to try and give him a steady diet of Leonard Fournette, but you know that Alabama's going to be ready for that defensively.
They stuffed him last year, 31 yards. This guy, the quarterback, is a good quarterback, but he doesn't have that strong arm to put it in the eye of a needle, and that could cost LSU with that Alabama front four.
But isn't Alabama due for somebody to put a charge in them?
Yes.
Maybe not beat them, but Death Valley at night, LSU fired up. Fans will be really well lubed by the time they kick that thing off.
Mm-hmm.
I could see LSU hanging around in that game. I don't know about an upset, but I could see that game being competitive because, goodness gracious, Alabama can't just roll through everybody this season. Somebody's going to hang around with them. Somebody's going to scare them and put them on the ropes.
Well, Alabama, the last couple of years, Ole Miss has put a scare in them. But Alabama looks like that. As I said before, Alabama reminds me of the Grim Reaper. I mean, they went into Georgia last year. They didn't take Georgia. They didn't beat Georgia. They took their soul.
Mm-hmm.
And their soul is still wandering aimlessly.
Well,
this year they took Tennessee's soul. And Tennessee hadn't been the same.
The thing is, as great as Alabama is, I have to look up the information. They don't. I mean, it's hard to go 12-0, and somebody has nicked them. No pun intended. Pretty much every year. I mean, when's the last time they went undefeated and won the national championship? Have they done that under Saban? I'm trying to look. Have they gone undefeated?
Wasn't that when they beat Texas after they knocked Texas's quarterback out the game or something?
I'd have to go back and look. Let's jump back to the phones real quick. And Glenn in North Charleston. Hello, Glenn. How are you?
How you doing, Mr. Phil?
Good.
And all you gang over there?
We're good. Thank you.
Yeah, I hope y'all stay safe, too.
Yes, sir. You too.
It's sad for me to see basketball going because as a blind person, when you listen to network basketball, it's hard to get used to the names. It's such a fast sport to keep up with. That's why I love football, because they do a wonderful job in calling the action and play-by-play. And as a blind person, I can keep up with it. I just wish there was a way that network or ESPN can think of us blind people, blind men, love football too, and hopefully one day they can make it, more blind friendly, as it says.
Well, I mean, if you're trying to follow along on television, keep in mind your most skilled television announcers don't give you great description because they have the picture.
Mm-hmm.
They let the picture do the talking for them. The best ones do. Some don't know when to shut up, but the best ones know when to shut up. Now, go to radio, listen to NBA broadcasters. You'll get a good description of what's going on because they're very skillful. Listen to the Atlanta Hawks announcer. He's a Hall of Fame guy. He's top dog, and you'll get a good description of what's happening out there. Back in a moment.
Listen to Todd Ellis.
We go inside the huddle with the coach and the quarterback up next. This is Sports Talk.
Welcome back, Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network on a Thursday night. It is indeed time for the coach and the quarterback. We welcome in the coach, Chuck Reedy, and the quarterback, Steve Tannehill, to Sports Talk. Mr. Tannehill splashed all over the pages of the state newspaper today. And, gosh, I'm glad that, we here at Sports Talk kind of brought you back to life around the state.
What?
Did you read the story on yourself today?
I don't read the papers.
Oh, well, come on. You didn't know you were in the state newspaper today?
Someone texted me, but I don't really read it.
Okay. It's a good story. Good story. You'd be happy. They had your picture from the Clemson game where you got your hands up in the air, facing the crowd. That sort of thing.
You're supposed to be able to read your own press clippings now. You're not supposed to do it as a player or a coach, but now you can. You're actually at a point in life where you can read your own press clippings.
Been there, done that.
I don't worry about that stuff, but it is good free pub for the bar. So I'm good.
There you go. There you go. And of course, they had to compare the haircuts, the mullet to the crew cut that Mr. Bentley has. So, all right, let's get into it. And Steve, Chuck, good to have both of you with us again. Steve, Bentley, 2-0. Throwing it well, protecting the football, beat a ranked team. Sound familiar to you? What'd you think of his performance?
I thought he played a good game. He's a disciple of growing up as a quarterback, and I told somebody the other day the best play he made all game to me was on the fourth down early in the game where he was rolling right and there was nothing there and he cut back left and got the first. And those plays are what you need and what make the other guys around you believe in you. And I love his enthusiasm. He's excited and looks like he's truly having fun. And that's what the game of football is about to me. And especially when he's thrown in a tough situation, I think everybody else around him has played a lot better. And I think they're doing more. The offense looks different to me. Now, I don't know. I'm not there, but I just think the offense looks a little different. And I'm happy for him and I'm happy for them. And, the wins are great. And if they can win this week and beat Western and get to a bowl game with this is going to sound bad, but with the lack of talent, I think it's a hell of a coaching job by their guys.
Yeah.
He definitely seems to just have that it factor. I know we have a small sample size where we watched him, but he doesn't seem to be frazzles out there. And I don't know, Steve, if the irony's just on me, the fact that Will Muschamp is a guy that probably brought the most prolific passer at USC in the past decade. Not Steve Spurrier, the guy he replaced. And Muschamp was not for his offense. But, I mean, are we putting too much on his shoulders right now, or is this legitimate buzz for him?
I think there's other guys rated a little higher than Jake coming out of high school. Garcia was very highly rated. And the boy from North Carolina was really highly rated.
Mitch, yeah.
I think was his name, Connor Mitch.
Right.
Connor Mitch.
And I mean, we brought in 2 4-stars last year, and what does a star mean really? I mean, that's just somebody looking there and these guys not really knowing. I mean, he's got to fit the system. But like I said, I think our offense has changed since Jake got in there. We're doing different things than we did with the other guys. And whether that he can do more or whether we're just It's just different, and it helps when your tailback has over 100 yards rushing. I said that last week on this show. When I got the chance to play, Brandon and Rob and Stanley, those guys help a lot. Now the 6 sacks is not good, but he didn't fumble any of those sacks. He didn't force passes in those sacks, and we're not turning the ball over. So I think he's played well. Don't get me wrong, and I think the guys around him have played a lot better.
Chuck, you're South Carolina now. You're coming off this win. Everybody's patting you on the back. You're talking about making a bowl game. You're talking about some even are saying, maybe there's a way to still win the East. Maybe there's a way to beat Florida. And my question for you is, as a coach now, how do you deal with a young team, and they definitely are young, and keeping them focused and convincing them that Missouri can beat you, and everything that you gained last week can be lost if you don't beat Missouri?
Well, yeah, and we've seen how this team has responded, to losing. They've come back and won a couple of games. This will be the first time we'll see how they're going to respond with coming off some success. Obviously, beating a ranked team is something that certainly the highlight of the season. See how they respond to that. Our philosophy always was, when things are going well, that's when you work the heck out of them. You're harder on them after a win because they can handle it and they'll respond to that. But you don't let up. I mean, you keep the daggone pedal to the metal, and and I'm sure that's what they've done this week. And and that's the approach I think that you have to take going into a game like Missouri, a game that they should win. And and as Steve said, I mean, it's critical to getting to the 6 wins that we've been talking about all year.
I think maybe the one position as a group on a football team that drives fans the craziest is the offensive line. They see these guys, and they see them sometimes open up holes and protect the quarterback, and then they see them fall apart, give up sacks, no running game whatsoever. From your coaching experience, how hard is it to build consistency on an offensive line? And I guess, it's unfair to expect an offensive line on every play to do the right thing as a group and do something positive every snap.
Yeah, it only takes one of those 5 guys to have a breakdown to give you a bad play or give you a sack. So, you've got to have 5 guys executing their assignment, on any one play in order for the play to be successful. I think that one thing, the key to it is continuity. I mean, you've got to have 5 guys that are playing together every week. And, early in the year, they had some injuries on the offensive line, had different guys in and out. And, I think the last few weeks, they've had the same group in there. And, and that's the key. I mean, because they've got to work together, they've got to communicate. And it's just so important when you have the same group week after week.
Steve, do you see an offensive line that's getting better at South Carolina or still struggling to find itself?
Well, I think when the running game gets positive yards and we can run the ball some, and you have a running back that gets over 100 yards, that is positive. The 6 sacks is not positive. And I think Bentley maybe got out of about 4 other sacks. So, I think before the year we might have given, and not saying we, but the media gave the offensive line too much credit. There is 4 young guys in there, and then Zandy's the senior, but I don't know that they're playing that great. I think a good running game helps a lot of things, and you can mask a lot of things if you can run the ball some. But you can't give up 6 sacks in a game. 6 sacks is a lot, and they have to do better than that. I'm not sure Missouri can sack us 6 times, but it does have a lot to do with continuity and the guys. The best situation for an O-line is all 5 guys playing all the games. Mm-hmm. When you have that, it's teamwork, and up there it is. Like Coach Reese said, I mean, one guy making one bad step can cost the whole O-line. So the key to any offense the offensive line, and the key to any defense is the defensive line. And all the superstars you want to have, if you don't have good guys on those two parts of the game, parts of your team, you're not going to do well.
Chuck, real quick, about 30 seconds before the break, what'd you think? Well, actually less than that. Hang on. We'll come back. I'll ask you my question. Sorry, got up against the clock here, so hang on. You go tend to Debbie. We'll come back to you in 4 minutes.
Hey, let me have a shout out before we go.
Uh-huh.
One of your big fans is Trey Gowdy, and you know he when he's in South Carolina, he listens to sports. He listens to your show.
Oh, wait, hang on.
And
We got to hit a break. We'll be right back. Okay, we're back at Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network. A reminder, should you lose us over the airwaves anytime, you can follow us on our website. With our video feed, you get to see the handsome trio. Yes, indeed. You can also listen to us with our audio feed. And, of course, our stations that are streaming on iHeartRadio and on the TuneIn app. You can follow us there as well. All right, back to Coach Reedy. You were saying something about Trey Gowdy.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying that he's a big fan of your show, and when he's back in South Carolina, he's a regular listener. So I just wanted to recognize him because he's doing a great job for us there in Washington.
Is he now? He's a Baylor guy. Did you know him when you were at Baylor?
I didn't know him at Baylor. I met him at a Marco Rubio rally actually, and found out that he did go to Baylor in the '80s. Before I was there. But as when we spent a good bit of time talking, and he said, I listened to you on Corn Blues show when I'm back in South Carolina. So that's how I know that that he does that he is a loyal listener.
That's great. That's always good to have important people listening, such as yourself and Coach Tannehill. I wanted to ask you real quick before we turned our attention to Clemson, your thoughts on Bentley, his poise. What he showed you, even though he was sacked 6 times, what did you see from a poise standpoint and just a controlling the moment standpoint by him?
Well, I mean, I think that, I don't think that anybody could have asked for any more or any better than what we've got in his first 2 games. I mean, he's poised. He stays in the pocket. He makes the throws. He made some plays with his feet, the other day. But, and going back kind of to what Steve was talking about, my idea of a great quarterback or a good quarterback, wasn't necessarily, how many yards he threw for or whatever, but did the other 10 guys around him play better? And, I think that, since he's been the starting quarterback, the other guys are playing better. Now, whether that's because they have, confidence in him or whatever, it doesn't matter. But, when you get in the huddle and those other 10 guys look at that quarterback, and they have confidence and they play better, that's the mark of a great quarterback.
Absolutely. By the way, since Steve mentioned Connor Mitch, he's played in 4 games this season at James Madison. He's 8 of 17 with an interception, no touchdowns, playing behind Brian Shore, who's completing 71% for 1,633 yards, 15 touchdowns, and 3 interceptions. The point being that Connor just, for whatever reason, it just didn't work out for him either at South Carolina or at JMU, which is a very good FCS program. All right, now, Steve, Clemson, down there in Tallahassee, Deshaun had a couple of picks, but when they had to put together a game-winning drive, it was bing, bang, boom to the tight end and in the end zone.
Man, they need to throw the ball to the tight end more. He's talented. He's a heck of a player. At my hunt club, my guys a bunch of the guys are Clemson guys, and I've told them every week they need to appreciate what's happening because it's going to be a different story no matter how talented the team is without Deshaun in there. He is a gamer. When the fourth quarter comes, it's like, he can't be stopped. And I've said it all year, and I catch a lot of flack because I am telling the truth, and it's like I'm pulling for Clemson, but I'm a quarterback at heart and coach quarterbacks and offense, and Deshaun Watson is the real deal, and especially in the clutch. And I still think he'll be the first pick in the draft, and the Clemson fans need to appreciate him because without him, it's different, and they'll see that next year. I know there's a lot of talent around them. It doesn't matter who the backup guy is. The other quarterback probably going in the first round is Chad Kelly, and they pushed him aside for Deshaun Watson. It's Clemson's team is they believe in each other, but it comes down to him and how good he is in the clutch, and that means a lot. That means a lot playing that position.
Chuck, what did you see from Clemson. If you didn't know something about the Tigers or know everything about the Tigers already, what did you see from how they went to Tallahassee and won that game?
Well, Clemson has been a very, very blessed and very fortunate football team, and I say that because of the missed field goal at NC State. I'm with Jimbo Fisher. I thought that was a terrible, terrible call made against their fullback, and was maybe a game changer.
Mm-hmm.
But the bottom line is, they find a way to win. And that's what great football teams do. Our philosophy, my always, good teams find a way to win, bad teams find a way to lose. And, they find a way to win. And, and they've got themselves in position now to where they're probably not even going to be challenged until they get into the playoffs.
Yeah. So, Chuck, you see anyway, in a few weeks, South Carolina goes into Death Valley and, makes that up with it.
No.
It was a close game in Columbia last year, and that was a
no.
It was close, but last year it was a 5-point game.
I understand that, but no. I mean, they may make it a close game for a while, but they don't. South Carolina doesn't have the talent to play with Clemson. And
come on, Coach.
I'm just telling it like it is now. Anything can happen. And Clemson has been very fortunate. And one of these days, everything may go against them. And if that happens, of course, anything can happen. But, I just don't, I don't see anybody on their schedule, especially they've got Pittsburgh at home, Carolina at home. I don't see, anything, even in the championship game. I mean, it's going to be North Carolina or Virginia Tech. Neither one of them, I don't think, have the talent to beat Clemson.
Steve, you give the Gamecocks any hope in a few weeks?
I think we got to wait and see how Carolina plays. That game, look at last year's game. Carolina wasn't that good, and they hung around. Clemson turned the ball over a little bit, so. Talent level, it's not close, but we'll see. And Carolina's got to beat Missouri first. And if they take care of business like they should, it'll be different. But Carolina goes out there and loses this week. All that's built up the last few weeks is gone, and all that confidence and all the fan support, and it's homecoming, and so. This game is very important, and Carolina needs to take care of business and find a way to win this week.
Guys, as always, we thank you immensely. Have yourselves a great rest of the week and next week, and we'll talk to you next Thursday, assuming we still have a country next Thursday. We'll talk to you.
Hey, I'm still waiting for one of you rich guys to buy me lunch somewhere, man. And I don't see that. It's a test after the show, and then I don't
get used to it, Steve. Get used to it. He'll promise you lunch, but he never delivers.
That's not true.
You got to
That's not true. I paid the last time I took you out, dadgummit. All right, thank you very much. But I tell you what, the beer will be free over at Group Therapy, right? that'll be on the house. The beer and the scotch and the bourbon and everything else.
Wow.
Thank you, guys. Yeah, what's wrong with a 3-martini lunch among friends over at Group Therapy?
I do that every day.
Oh, do you really?
Yeah.
That explains a lot.
It sure does.
All right.
How I've made it so long on the show.
Thank you to the coach, Coach Reedy, and the quarterback, Steve Tannehill, for visiting with us here on Sports Talk. Morgan on the Move coming up after the top of the hour break, plus more here on Sports Talk. Recruiting coming up as well. And should you lose us for some reason or another, you can find us. Just look for us. We'll be back.
Live from Columbia, this is Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network. Be a part of tonight's show. Call us at 800-956-7266 or email talkback@sportstalksc.com. Now, here are your hosts for Sports Talk, Phil Kornbluth, Kevin McCrary, and Tom Hayes.
And welcome back into Sports Talk, everybody, here on South Carolina Radio Network on a Thursday night from wild and wonderful downtown Columbia. Gang is all here tonight. Phil Kornbluth, Kevin McCrary, Professor Thomas Hayes, who likes to be referred to in the foreign language lingo there.
Oh,
nice.
Well done.
And Jared Rogers Martin. It is time for Morgan on the Move here on Sports Talk as we welcome Mike Morgan back into the program after a couple of weeks away, one for travel, one for a little bit of a sore throat issue that has now been cleared up as he gets ready to go to Arkansas to see Arkansas take on Florida this weekend, big SEC game. And Mike is brought to you by Play It Again Sports in Columbia. Chris Mosley and the folks there have everything you need in the way of golf equipment, fitness equipment, water sports, and more, located at Bauer Parkway in Harbison, where they buy, sell, and trade what you want. Also by Founders Federal Credit Union. Check out foundersfcu.com and learn how they can assist you in all of your financial needs. Are we feeling better?
We are. Everybody that I know is feeling better. After a week ago, everybody I knew was sick as a dog or having some type of issue. So all is good. All is good.
Well, before we turn to football, let's turn to the thing that we originally hired you for years ago. And, of course, that's baseball. And it all came to a grand conclusion last night. What do you think, and what's going to happen in 2017?
I thought it was the best World Series I've ever seen. I thought it was. And I had no dog in the fight, but I guess like a lot of people, I was caught up in the Cubs story more so than the Indian story and wanted to see them break the 108-year drought and to make a comeback. And really what I was pulling for more than anything was a great seventh game. And I don't think we could have asked for anything more than that. I really think Joe Madden dodged two major bullets. I think it's proof that you can be an exceptional manager and still make some mistakes in the heat of the moment. And I thought he made two big ones, one in Game 6 and at least one in Game 7. But they won anyway, so that's not the story. The story is Joe Madden is the guy that once again took a team that traditionally won nothing, much like when he took Tampa to a World Series. This time he wins the World Series. He's an exceptional manager. Mm-hmm. And then when I look at the Cubs long term, there's no reason to think that they're not going to be good for a long time. I mean, they're exceptionally young and talented, and they have money. So when you add all that up, I think Chicago's in pretty good shape for a while.
So we're going to hate the Cubs in 3 years.
It's going to go from the loving, cuddly Cubs to the despised Cubs with all the winning.
Evil empire.
And just remember, a couple of years ago, when they was that last year or 2 years ago when they did not bring Chris Bryant up right away because they wanted to keep him down in the minors to a certain point to extend his time with them before he reaches free agency. Yeah. Of course, all that's forgotten now, and they benefit from that, and they'll have a chance to keep him under wraps for a little while longer.
Yeah, and this is more, again, I guess I'm a little biased in one respect, and then I do love the college game. I know you guys do as well. You cover it extensively. And it brings a smile on my face to see the trend that has been happening over the last, 5 years maybe, which is more and more teams going after the college kids and with their first round draft picks, as opposed to rolling the dice on high school guys. A lot of times there was a stigma attached to taking a college baseball player so highly. They thought the coaching was poor. Of course, the aluminum bat was always talked about. Chris Bryant was an absolute stud at the University of San Diego. He was out homering entire teams when he was playing, and it didn't take long for that skill level to translate over to the college game. Jake Arrieta was a great pitcher at TCU. Chris Coughlin who got in the game late, played at Ole Miss. I think Stuart Lake, actually, former Bray Tanner assistant, was one of his coaches in Oxford. So I noticed a lot of college guys out there. Of course, Andrew Miller at North Carolina, who played against South Carolina. I remember seeing him up close. A lot of college guys have played in that World Series, and I think that's a trend that is good for the college game.
Yeah, and we're sitting there in the ninth inning, and you think about, of course, we focus on South Carolina. What a great athletic year it's been in South Carolina with Clemson's run to the football championship game, the USC women's basketball success, Coastal Carolina winning the baseball national championship, other individual successes, and you've got Carl Edwards Jr. on the mound, a kid from Mid-Carolina High School with a chance to close it out. Couldn't get it done, but he had a chance to close it out at the end. That would have been very sweet for our state.
Yeah, I got to be honest with you. I didn't know much about him. I didn't expect to see him at any point, in a key spot in the World Series. And then I started noticing on Twitter the ties to South Carolina. So that is cool. That is a good deal. You wonder how many kids all time that have had a chance to play in a World Series have ties to the Palmetto State. I mean, I'm guessing we're talking about what, a handful or two. Yeah. That's a pretty distinct honor.
Probably Bobby Richardson's the most, to my quick memory, Bobby Richardson is the most famous. Of course,
right.
Did he not win a World Series MVP with 11 hits, I think, in 60 or 61, but that'd be the first one to come to my mind.
Jim Rice.
You mentioned the pitching and how that went down, and Madden, look, what he did at Tampa and what he's done with this Cubs team, and he's a smart guy and players like him, but he did do some things in that game. Had the Cubs lost, he would have been a pretty darn big goat.
He would have been crucified. He would have been Grady Little part 2.
Yeah.
and probably would have been amplified because nobody remembers Grady Little, or at least very few people outside of that one particular mark or two. I think because there was such a magnifying glass of the Cubs, Joe Madden, who's highly respected, unlike a Grady Little was, would have never lived that down. To this day, I still think he got away with a couple of mistakes. But look, not every manager is going to be perfect. And the bottom line is they were able to overcome that. I really think the rain delay did the Cubs a favor. Yeah. I thought that was one of those unplanned, unforeseen, uncontrollable circumstances that actually helped the Cubs.
Well, Mike, it was interesting. I know I'm sitting next to Matt, the newsman, and he's a big Cub fan, and I tried to get him to relax because I said, look, to me, and I don't know how it looked to you, but it was just to me that the Cubs had a distinct offensive advantage in the other guy's ballpark because their lineup just looked potent when they were using the designated hitter. I said their offense, this is one time when I think the road team actually has an advantage over the home team because of the designated hitter rule.
That's a great point, bro. And as I was rattling off all those college names, I forgot maybe the most important one, and a guy who I got a chance to meet and see up close, and that's Kyle Schwarber. I mean, I had him with Indiana when they knocked off Florida State and Tallahassee to get to their first ever World Series. That kid is unpitchable. I mean, he is unbelievable. And when you had the ability with the DH to play him, I mean, they still haven't figured out a way to get him out. They had the shift on the entire time, and he smokes the ball so hard that even with the second baseman playing in short right, he still manages to get it past him and over to the right fielder. I agree with you that, and I think that the Cubs are just a more home run happy team, and the weather was actually more conducive to home runs than it ordinarily would have been this time of year if we had typical frigid temperatures.
And Schwarber didn't play against big league pitching all season. Yeah. And he still has his timing in the biggest stage.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. I don't know if you can overstate how incredible that is to basically have 6 months without seeing live pitching and then do what you did in the World Series.
All right, hang on, Mike. We'll come back to you for a couple more minutes and get your take on the state of football. SEC, as you're headed out to Arkansas for Arkansas and Florida. Mike Morgan with us here on Sports Talk. It's Morgan on the Move on this Thursday night edition. Back in a moment. All right, Sports Talk here on a Thursday night from downtown Columbia. Hey, whether you are a part of Gamecock Nation or you bleed Clemson Orange, everyone can agree on Founders Federal Credit Union with a convenient location at the Russell House on USC's campus and a new location on Highway 93 in Clemson, which is now open. Founders is a sure fan favorite. Visit relaxjoinfounders.com to see if you qualify for membership. Founders Federal Credit Union is federally insured by NCUA. All right, back to Mike Morgan. Morgan on the move, couple of more minutes, and then we'll get into recruiting tonight. And, Mike, you're headed out west to Razorback Stadium, beautiful, beautiful stadium on a nice campus out there at Arkansas. Everything is nice about it except getting to Fayetteville. I mean, my goodness. But you're going to see Florida and Arkansas. Arkansas kind of struggling now. And Florida, I don't know, I'm sure you watched the Florida-Georgia game, and it had to be one of the worst Florida-Georgia games that I've ever seen. Just in terms of the execution and the performances and all that kind of stuff. What about Florida and its offense? Are they starting to go down the drain here a little bit offensively and just relying on that defense to get them home?
Well, to piggyback on your point of Florida, Georgia, this could be the worst year in the history of the SEC's Eastern Division, which had its inception in 1992. The worst year of offensive football in the East, because you can't find a good offense in this division. Florida, Kentucky, Tennessee, Georgia, South Carolina, Vanderbilt, Missouri. Find me a good offense in that group. Some of them are downright awful.
Well, let me just say this. Let me just say this from a South Carolina standpoint. There's South Carolina BB and South Carolina AB. Now, AB hasn't been world beaters. Well, they are 2-0. They're not tearing it up in terms of numbers, but they're better.
Yeah, no, they are, and it looks like they've got their quarterback of the future. And really, what's been maybe more consistent is their defense. You know, I think Will Muschamp has actually got guys that look like they know what the heck they're doing. I don't know if you could say that the last couple of years, but just looking at it on the macro level, it's a pretty abysmal group of offenses. And whoever does win this division, which is going to be Florida or Tennessee, some might say Kentucky's got a shot, and they've been a nice story. They haven't won 4 conference games in a row since '77. They have a chance to do it. But whoever wins it is also going to be a pretty inept offense. How about Tennessee? I mean, you've got a kid in Jalen Hurd who is their leading rusher, who has led the team in rushing for the last 3 years, and he's going to transfer.
Yeah.
There's a little chaos right now in Knoxville. They're going to beat up on Tennessee Tech, but they actually have a chance. If Florida, to me, also can be inept on offense, Arkansas, if they block for Austin Allen, can be explosive. It's a scary game in Fayetteville. And if somehow the Gators lose it, that opens the door for Tennessee. With all the things going on right now in Knoxville, they could still wind up in Atlanta because, again, the East has just been the least once again in this conference.
What has happened to Arkansas's defense? 38 points to TCU, 45 points to A&M, 49 to Alabama, 30 to Ole Miss, 56 to Auburn. What's happened to their defense?
Yeah, I mean, I think they got a good coordinator in Thomas. I just don't think they have the bodies. I really don't think they have the athletes. They had a few years under Coach Bielema where they could get after you quite a bit. I mean, Arkansas has been known as more of an offensive team going back to the days of Petrino, and lately it's been with Bielema, they can ground and pound you, and they've got big, massive running backs, and they usually have a big physical offensive line. That's not the case this year. That's an issue. And defensively, they've been good, but this year they're just bad. I mean, they just have to overcome that. But again, Florida's so inept on offense that it might be a stalemate. I mean, I can't see Florida scoring 30 on anybody in this conference right now. So I don't think that's. I think it's a winnable game for Arkansas. I think it's a scary game for Florida. And if so, as unbelievable as this is, Tennessee, who only won 1 game in the entire month of October, that was on a Hail Mary to beat Georgia.
Yeah.
Tennessee could somehow have the inside track to Atlanta.
Well, in fact, Mike, Kentucky is the only East team to beat a West team this year when they beat Mississippi State.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that. And I give Coach Stoops credit because I thought at the beginning of the year Kentucky looked awful. And they were going to have another woeful year, and there was talk about Stoops and what's going to be his future there. Now they're trying to make it to a bowl game. They're 1 win away from bowl eligibility. And Georgia should, I stress the word should, be able to run on Kentucky and Lexington. But I don't know, because Georgia right now on offense they are completely out of sorts. There's no identity. There's nothing. And the freshman quarterback, probably will be a first-round draft pick in a couple of years, but he's still got a lot to learn.
Yeah, I mean, how could you just not turn and give the ball to Nick Chubb? I mean, he's healthy as far as we know.
Offensive line, Corn. I mean, they don't block. They don't get a push. They don't create holes. They got 2 good backs. Don't forget Michelle.
Yeah.
But,
this
is a very uncharacteristic Georgia line where it's not average. It's below average. They got a lot of issues. Somewhere Mark Richt has got to be smiling saying, yeah, I kind of knew they'd have some issues this year before they fired me.
It's too bad he's lost himself, 4 in a row?
Well, yeah.
Or he could be smiling pretty strongly.
Yeah.
Clemson, Florida State, I know you watched that ball game. What'd you take away on Clemson? You see them number 2 right now behind Alabama. Are we looking at a rematch down the road here for the national championship?
I'd say I think college football is in a great spot because no matter what matchup we have, it's going to be a really good one. Who's not going to be excited if it's Jim Harbaugh and Michigan? I think Washington's very underrated if they hold on. Obviously, if they do, they would they would leapfrog Texas A&M with one loss. I think people got too crazy over that initial ranking Tuesday night. But yeah, there's certainly a distinct possibility we could have a rematch. And if there was a rematch, there's a distinct possibility Clemson could pull it off. Look, they played with them all last year, and if it wasn't for an onside kick, we might be having an entirely different dialogue right now. But I think that was the last big potential stumbling block. I thought that was a really scary game in Tallahassee. I don't see anything else on Clemson's schedule that scares me in the least.
Mike, have a good trip out there to Fayetteville, and we'll talk to you next week.
Sounds great, guys.
Thank you so much. Mike Morgan here on Sports Talk. Morgan on the move. And we always thank Mike for sharing his thoughts with us. All right, to some recruiting now here on this Thursday night. We begin with defensive lineman Tyrone Truesdale from Augusta. Has a top group of USC and Florida, Louisville, Kentucky, Auburn, and Ole Miss. That group remains intact with the additions of Georgia Tech, West Virginia, and Mississippi State. Continues to get a strong push from USC. Visited for the East Carolina game and was back for the Georgia game. And he's been in touch with the coaches who continue to sell him hard. He's also been to Georgia and Florida. He has an official visit to Louisville set for January 13th. He'll also set visits with Ole Miss and Florida. He said those are the three guaranteed officials that he knows about. As for an official to USC, he said since it's so close to home, he doesn't really feel the need to schedule an official visit. As for a favorite, he says that he's feeling Florida right now. To be honest with you, he said. Coaches, players, fans, he's familiar with Florida because that's where his mother lives. His grandmother lives there. So Florida could be the team to beat. Says he's had about 20 sacks this season. 2018 defensive end Xavier Thomas of Wilson plans to be at USC Saturday. He visited USC earlier in the season. He's also been to Clemson, Georgia, and Alabama this season. Running back Jalon Adams, 5'10", 170, Adamsville, Alabama, plans to be at USC Saturday. His offers include South Alabama and several FCS programs. USC Wednesday offered 2018 quarterback Jaron Williams of Lawrenceville, Georgia. He committed to Kentucky in June. He has offers as well from Houston, Maryland, Boston College, West Virginia, and Colorado State. 2018 athlete Justin Watkins of Citra, Florida, has offers from Clemson and USC, along with many others. He said he is interested in Clemson. 2018 tight end Trey Ross of Randleman, North Carolina, has been to a game at Clemson this season, hopes to return. He's not picked up an FBS offer yet. He's also been to Duke, East Carolina, and App. Plans to visit Wake Forest, Virginia, and Virginia Tech. Clemson remains in touch. And in basketball, 2018 shooting guard Isaiah Moore of Sumter plans to visit Clemson this weekend, unofficially. And, of course, you got Mr. Trapp up there officially right now. Busy Thursday night here on Sports Talk. Glad that you are with us, making Sports Talk a part of your regular listening habits. Glad to have you with us wherever you're dialed in around the state of South Carolina. Coming up in just a moment, going to talk a little Citadel football. Want to remind you from the South Carolina Forestry Commission that insects and diseases can be moved hundreds of miles in firewood and threaten our forests and favorite campsites, neighborhoods, and state and national parks. Help protect the trees you love by purchasing firewood at or near where you burn it. For more information, visit don'tmovefirewood.org. We welcome into Sports Talk Citadel coach Brent Thompson. The Bulldogs ranked number 5 and undefeated, preparing to take on the Samford Bulldogs at Johnson Haygood Stadium on Saturday. Coach, how are you? Good to have you with us once again.
Phil, always a pleasure. I'm doing well. Thank you.
I was just having a flashback to when I met you for the first time on the golf course back in August with the Citadel Kickoff Classic, and we shook hands and wished you well and said, good luck. Boy, you're stepping into an interesting situation, but little did we know that you certainly had your hands on the wheel and knew what you were doing steering this team.
Yeah, hey, I remember that day clearly, and I had no idea what I was getting into, but hey, I'll take it at this point.
Are you at all surprised about where you are? I mean, 8-0, ranked number 5. Talking about the playoffs and all this sort of stuff. Did you expect this at all going in?
We expected to be pretty good. I didn't know how good we would really be. It was a matter of our players staying hungry from last year. It's easy to get complacent when you had 9 wins and you beat a South Carolina team, and there's so many things that were happening to us last year that you couldn't really project what was going to happen this year. We could have gone the other direction, but with a credit to the staff and a credit to the players and a credit to our off-season program, I think they did a good job of prepping themselves to go out there and have a great season this year. And we've done it so many different ways. We've done it with our offense. We've done it with our defense. We've done it with our special teams, and we've done it just a bunch of different ways and just hanging together as a team, which is probably what I'm the most proud of.
Yeah. You don't get to 8-0 without having some close calls, and you've had more than your share. 1 point against Mercer, 5 over Furman, 7 over Gardner-Webb, 8 over Chattanooga, overtime 3-pointer over Wofford. Somebody's living right.
Yeah, that's what they keep telling me, but whatever it is, I'll keep on doing it, hopefully.
Yeah, well, it's also a sign about your team. I mean, these guys, as coaches like to say, good teams find a way to win, bad teams find a way to lose. What is it about your team that you're finding that way to win these tight ball games?
I thought a lot of things were set in place last year when chips were down and we started to win games that we had lost the year before. And maybe the Citadel had lost the previous years. And I had so many people come up to me and say that, we've turned the corner. We've kind of won some games that we shouldn't win. And it may go back to the Wofford win of 2 years ago. And, we came out, we hadn't beaten Wofford in 16 years, and we go out, we put a good game on. And next thing you know, we just caught fire after that. And, played extremely well down the stretch and lost to Chattanooga. I know that. And come back, beat a good South Carolina team, beat a good Coastal Carolina team, and try to carry that momentum as best we could into this year. And we didn't talk a whole lot about last year. We didn't talk a whole lot about that because this is a different team. And I didn't know how exactly they were going to react. But really, ever since the start of fall camp, I thought they've reacted extremely well, and they've taken to all the coaching and all the, all the conditioning that we've put them through, and they've done a great job with it.
Well, and of course, it helps that you're the guy that put together the offense. You run the offense, and so it made for an easy transition. And you had some good players coming back to run your offense, and they really haven't skipped a beat, have they?
No, not at all. On the offensive side, we had to plug in a guy here or there on the offensive line. When we lost Sam Fry from last year's team, who was a pretty good guard, and we lost Mike Mabry. But other than that, we've really just plugged in a couple of guys and moved on. Our backfield is all the same. Our wide receivers were all the same. It was great to have Dominique Allen. And then our defense was a extremely veteran group as well. And unfortunately, we're starting to get a little bit old on defense. But right now, they're playing together, and they're playing together well.
So you're averaging 362.9 rushing yards per game. Is that about where you should be with your offense?
Yeah, I think so. You always want to try to push for a little bit more. We would like to be a little bit more in the passing. more around 100 yards per game would be better for us passing. But I'm not going to complain. I thought we've done a good job of being able to keep people off balance, and hopefully you get to a point where you don't have to throw the ball as much. And that was the case last weekend.
Well, you've only thrown it 70 times in 8 games.
I know most people. Sanford, you look at Sanford stats; they throw that in probably 3 quarters.
Yeah. So I mean, it's really, but when you're moving the ball on the ground as well as you guys do, it's something you don't have to concern yourself with.
No, and that's the way we've built this team. We've built this offense to be a ground and pound kind of a deal. We do a good job of run blocking. We do a good job of running the fullback, getting the ball to the perimeter a little bit. And when we got here 2 years ago, that's what we prided ourselves on. We were going to say we're going to hang our hat on stopping the run on defense and running the football on offense. And that's all we were looking to do, was just to start someplace and hang our hat on something. And when you do that, the kids started to believe.
How good has Tyler Renew been for you this year?
He's good because he's solid. He's good. You trust him in the fourth quarter. He's well conditioned. He's going to do the right thing. He's taken so many reps in there. He's carried the ball in critical situations for us that showed out last year in that South Carolina game where, we just put it on his shoulders and he took over. So he can handle a lot, and we continue to give it to him a lot.
All right. Now, do you pick up the phone and call Coach Houston and say, hey, Mike, according to the official FCS stats ranking, we're 5, you're 7. Hey. How are you down there below us?
I'm not baiting him one bit at all. It's been a little bit silent over the past couple of weeks. A couple texts back and forth. Congratulations on the game, but
yeah,
I'm not going to bait that JMU team at all.
Well, I mean, your paths could cross, right? You could see them in the playoffs.
They could.
Yeah,
they could, and if they do, it'll be an interesting matchup there, and we'll certainly look forward to that. I know that on our side. But it'll be definitely an interesting matchup.
Yeah, would you feel a little funny about going, having him on the opposite sideline going against you?
I think so, because really most of the staff is here at the Citadel that was on that staff. So we would have I know we would probably have a lot of motivation, and I know he would have a lot of motivation against us. But it would all be friendly. I know that.
Oh, sure. What about Sanford? What's your quick overview of those Bulldogs?
Well, they've had about 25 series where they've scored in about 1:30. They like to score, and they can score fairly quickly. They're going to play a high game, a high up-tempo game. Their percentage passing is extremely high. They take what they give you, and they move the ball down the field very quickly. What we need to do is try to get a little bit of pressure on the quarterback, try to disrupt the routes a little bit, disrupt the timing of it a little bit, make them drive the field. Don't give them a big play here and there. Offensively, we just got to, talking to the guys, just do what we do, and that's run the football, keep the defense off the field, and be able to convert some points, because we're going to need them in this game. These guys can score at will almost.
Well, you guys have had 22 sacks and 8 interceptions, so that's a pretty good combination, don't you think, defensively?
It is, and we look at it because compared to last year, we're a little bit below our interception total. So we would like to get a little bit more. So we'd like to have a little bit more opportunities, and at least to be able to control the football or control the ball game, which is what we're looking to do this week.
Yeah, and your offensive line is not allowed to sack. Give that offensive line coach a raise. He needs a raise. He knows how to teach pass blocking, right?
Well, we know how to just get the ball out of our hands as quick as we possibly can and just hang on as long as we can.
Has a team ever gone through a season not allowing a sack?
That's a great question. I'll have to ask my stat guy.
Yeah, look that up. Hey, listen, always great talking to you. Good luck to you on Saturday. Continue to roll along, and we'll catch back up with you.
So always a pleasure. I appreciate it, man.
Hey, same here, Coach. Appreciate it. Brent Thompson, head coach of the Citadel. How about they haven't given up a sack? You think of, even I know they're a triple option team.
They don't throw the ball.
Well, he's thrown it 70 times. They've completed 29. But you would think just accidentally you would fall down and a defender would be near you and you would get credit for a sack. They're not giving up a sack this year. All right. Thanks to the coach. We'll be right back. Coach, how on Saturday, Coach? All right, Frank Martin coming up in just a moment here on Sports Talk. It's time for the high school football report, service of Farm Bureau Insurance. With new auto insurance rates from Farm Bureau Insurance, you could be saving a whole lot of money, even if you've received a quote before. Rates are now more competitive than ever. Get a free quote today from your local Farm Bureau Insurance agent. A little bit of high school football action going on tonight around the state. And one game that we are keeping an eye on is the one in Northeast Columbia, Richland Northeast and Lancaster. The winner here makes it to the playoffs. The loser stays home. And it's scoreless between Richland Northeast and Lancaster so far in that game over at Harry Perrone Stadium. Don't forget, here is no, I'm sorry, that's not football, that's volleyball. A reminder, high school football scoreboards for you tomorrow night. 10, 10:30, and 11. We'll have all the high school football scores for you here on Sports Talk. A lot of big games. On the high school scoreboard show. A lot of big games tomorrow with some rivalry games and games, of course, with playoff implications and regional implications and all those sort of things. So we'll have the scores for you right here on the high school scoreboard, 10, 10:30, and 11. Clemson basketball. Tigers up 54-15 on Lander.
Oof.
55 seconds to play. Holmes leads the Tigers with 12. And Reed has 8. The Tigers are shooting 59% from the floor, 5 of 13 from 3. South Carolina plays this exhibition game on Sunday. Frank Martin met with us today. Always good to see the cheerful old boy from down south. And he was very happy to see us as well and to talk about his team, its progress, and looking ahead to playing another team.
And for that team, we maximized who we can be. Now the guys that are back, what we talked to them about is like, we should have figured out a way to beat Missouri at Missouri. Should have figured out a way to beat Georgia one of the 2 times in the last 10 days of the season. We should have figured out a way to beat Mississippi State at Mississippi State. Those are opportunities that were there for us that we let get away from us. And, so that's the way we've tried to approach it. At least that's what my message has been to the players. First-year guys have adapted to the speed and physicality that we go at pretty quickly. The understanding of what we're trying to do, that's always the challenge with first-year guys. It's I'm not going to tell you it's easy right now, but it's easier than it's been because these Mike, KG, Hassani, the guys that have been in practice, John, Ran hurt his knee, and he hasn't been very good since he's been not hurt his knee. He tweaked his knee, so he was out for 4 or 5 days. And since he's been back, he hasn't practiced real well. But they've adapted how hard they have to play, how fast we do things. They've adapted a lot better than any of the guys we've had before. That goes back to being a credit to Sindarius and Dwayne and Justin, PJ, Chris, just because they learned from those guys the year before and through their experiences here. And now they've done an unbelievable job of representing how we have to prepare around here for us to be good. It's part of our DNA, who we are, who we've worked so hard to create over the past 4 years. And those guys have been great showing, and those first-year guys have been great and receptive with that workload of embracing it. Now we need to start expanding a little bit what we're doing, because which is what I tell them, John, which is where young guys start getting left behind sometimes. When you're playing in a game and let's use Sindarius, who's been phenomenal in practice. Him and PJ have been just unbelievable in practice. But I'm just going to pick on Sindarius because he's been around here the longest. And Sin has a favorable matchup in a game. You got to have different things that you can run to put Sindarius in an advantage situation. That's where young guys get left behind because there's so much information that they have to embrace and understand. That we'll get ready to start doing some of that. And that's my challenge this year is I got to have enough things to keep the older guys moving forward as players, but I can't leave the young guys behind either. We got to find that balance.
Much in that same regard, I know Newberry kind of runs a unique system, but with this game, are you going to treat it more like a game or as an exhibition? I know in the past you haven't scouted as much for some of the exhibitions, but what do you plan to do with this game?
The players and one of the assistants, I think it's Bruce, if I'm not mistaken, he'll prepare the guys. I'm not watching film. I watch our guys right now. I watch film, and I don't mean this as a slight to Newberry, but it's an exhibition game. Heck, I'm going to play combinations that might not play together. I'm going to play some guys maybe more minutes than I would if the game counted. So I'm not going to watch film, but Bruce is going to prepare as if he was doing a scout, and he's going to meet with the players, and I'll sit in those meetings and just so I can have a feel for what they're seeing. But I'm worried about our team right now at Newberry. Dave does an unbelievable job. My God, are they fun to watch? We've got a pretty good friendship. They come watch us practice. We go watch them practice, and it's pretty unique.
All right, Frank Martin. Yeah, Coach Davis from Newberry. They like to run and gun. They are always one of the top scoring teams in Division II, upper 80s in the 90s. And one thing Martin went on to say, he took exception to a question that, well, it really wasn't the question, but it was the thought that they don't run up tempo at South Carolina. He says he hears that. It drives him nuts. He points out that they do. They were the, how do you put it? They took the second most shots in the SEC last year, I think he said. So just once, and he hears that in recruiting circles, knowing that people are telling kids, hey, go South Carolina, it's going to be stall ball. And he's like, no. So we get out there and we go up and down the court and take shots. All right. Before we leave you tonight, our friends at SC Electric Cooperative would ask us to remind you about their program, the Energy Smart Beat the Peak program through SC Electric Cooperative. The website is energysmartsc.org/beatthepeak. energysmartsc.org/beatthepeak. You can sign up to get announcements when they are expecting peak times during the day. That way you can avoid doing things that requires a lot of electricity and save money. That's the whole idea. Save electricity and save money, because SC Electric Cooperative says together we all have the power to beat the peak. So to help beat the peak, visit energysmartsc.org/beat the peak. And you can score big with Founders Federal Credit Union. Convenient office locations at USC and Clemson, ATMs at Clemson and Converse and Limestone, PC USC and Lancaster, USC Lancaster, Winthrop and York Tech. Visit foundersfcu.com for a full listing to find an ATM or office near you. If you're not a member, visit relaxjoinfounders.com to see if you qualify for membership. Founders Federal Credit Union is federally insured by NCUA. We got football tonight, Pro?
We got football tonight. We're walking to Oklahoma and Iowa State. Iowa State just got a turnover, so 7-0 Oklahoma. The Falcons play the Bucks on Thursday night football. And late tonight, UCLA at number 15, Colorado.
Very nice. Final thoughts, K-Mac?
I'm already having World Series withdrawals. I wouldn't mind a best-of-9 World Series right about now.
Go find the grave of a Cub fan and go sit down next to it and talk to it. That'll make you feel better, as they're doing in Chicago.
Graveyards are busy.
Great night. See you tomorrow.